What is up, creative world? Welcome back to the vlog. It is 2026. I know it's been a while, but we're back and we're strong, and we're starting the year with a brand new project. At the end of 2025, this client approached me with this brand new project. They had actually approached me a couple years ago about a different project, and unfortunately things just didn't line up quite the way we needed to for it to work out. But this time it did, and it's meant to be. And I'm really excited because this is gonna be a gut renovation. We're basically gonna be taking the house down to the studs, doing a brand new addition, completely changing the look of the house. And the most exciting thing is that from talking to the client, we really align in the aesthetic and the vision for the house. So we're on our way to go see the house, to go meet the clients, do a walkthrough, and start measuring the house so we can get to work. There it is, our first project for 2026. And the first thing we notice is that we're really up high. We're on top of this hill right there, so there's a retaining wall holding up the hill behind it. And that's actually kind of cool because it gives us a bigger presence on the street. I think it's interesting. The one challenge will be though, however, how we're going to get access to the front door, because right now you have to go up the driveway and up these big stairs. And now we're inside, and you walk in to the living room. First impression is the house is modest. It's small. I think it's probably less than 1,200 square feet, I believe. Once we get the survey, we're gonna see how many square feet we can add to it. But I think we're trying to get close to 2,000 square feet. The lot is not super gigantic, so we're limited to how much we can build based on the floor area ratio. But in any case, we're gonna gut the whole thing. None of this is going to look the same once we are done with it. Not even that fireplace. We're definitely not doing a tacky fireplace. Let's check out the rest of the house. So, living room here, we got a bedroom, kitchen, and then 2 more bedrooms. Throughout the house, we're gonna see a lot of things kind of broken and mangled like that. And that's because they've started a process of testing for asbestos and other things that need to be mitigated once the house comes down, or once we start demoing the inside of the house. Because if there is asbestos in the house, it has to be dealt in a special way. You can't just like tear it down and throw it in a dump. You have to handle it in a special way, because if you breathe that stuff in, it can cause cancers. The closets are pretty small, very small closets. The closets are small, very small closets. I don't know why I just did that, but again, the house is small. This is not a big house. We are going to be upgrading. We're going to be adding square footage to it, but right now it's interesting to see just the status of it. Small house, small closet. This bedroom is probably the primary, and I think it's only about maybe like 13 or 12 by 9, you know? So again, not very big. The wallpaper is also very outdated. Like, what is this? I don't think this was a good idea in the 1970s, whenever this house was remodeled. And check out the technology. What is that? That is a fan. I think that's that guy. It works. Okay, maybe we should just shut that off. But I will see if I can turn on the heat, because we still have to measure the house, and it is cold, is it? Oh, it works. I don't have to measure the house in the freezing cold. Or did it work? I think that worked. Again, very old house. It has radiant heat, but it also does. I also saw registers, so I don't know. Maybe we have central air, but then that is old. It's very cold. Let's check out the bathroom. Well, first of all, it's pretty tight. And it's outdated, which is to be expected. I have no idea when this house was built. We have to look into that. But it was most likely renovated at some point. But that was also probably, I want to say, more than 10 years ago because things do feel old and outdated. Also, nothing is premium. Like, you know, this is, well, I think that's actually quartz. That's more asbestos testing. That vanity doesn't look that special. I do like, however, that they splurged on the glass sliders, which I think are cool. But unfortunately, the shower is very small. Like, I'm not a big dude, but I could barely be here sideways. But at least it has a cool little bench. Okay, let's check out the, okay, I'm not hating on the house, okay? I just know the potential and I know what we're gonna do here, and it's not as cool as what I know we're gonna do. So I'm not being a jerk, I'm just trying to be entertaining. But again, what is up with this wallpaper? This literally makes me think of my grandma. And this, I don't know. The thing with style and trends is that it changes and it's cool for a moment. And if you're really talented, you can pick something or you can design something that's timeless. But even the most timeless things do get old. The cool thing about our situation is that we get to do it all over again and try to create something spectacular that people are going to love and enjoy. It's a small house, so we're gonna keep saying that. But look, I'm not a tall dude. I'm like 5'3", 5'4". I'm not tall. And I could almost, if I was Michael Jordan, I would be tip to tip right here. And I'm not sure how many square footage we're gonna be able to add, but ultimately things will get nicer, it will be bigger, a little bit more spacious and more comfortable. However, this is not gonna be a 5,000 square foot home with a gigantic kitchen, with a ton of room to just waste on frivolous things. We're still gonna have to be very smart and deliberate about how we create our design, how we combine our spaces, so that every square foot is working twice as hard to create a comfortable and nice functional home. And as expected, the house is also very closed off. Like, see, that's the hallway down to the bedrooms. On the other side, living room, family room, and then obviously this is the kitchen. And every room is segregated, which is typical of older designs, right? And nowadays, we love the open design floor plan, being able to have long sight lines, being able to see through other rooms and feeling more spacious and more comfortable. So that's definitely gonna be part of the design as we move forward. Very typical appliances, and I bet all of these still work, man. It's a shame, because I don't know what's gonna happen with all this stuff, but you know, we're gonna get rid of all of this, but it all still works. Okay, there is a cool little room that we're gonna go into right now. It used to be probably an open porch, and then they close it up and turn it into a sunroom. So we have a lot of natural wood and paneling in this room. Again, I think this used to just be like a deck, and they enclosed it and turned it into this sunroom. So non-insulated windows, just screens. It does have baseboard, but I can imagine it being super expensive to just heat this room because, you know, these are double pane, but I bet these are not well insulated windows. I think 20 years ago, this would have been pretty dope. This would have been a cool little room where you're hanging out. Maybe this was a playroom where you're hanging out with the kids or watching TV. But again, it feels really outdated for today's standards. Very dark and scary. Look at the cobwebs, dude. Wow. I have no idea how long this space was vacant until they bought it, but right now it's definitely giving me haunted house vibes. This is a good Harry Potter room, as us 90s kids would call it. And look at that wood paneling. That's premium. Again, because the house is pretty small, the basement is small, and it's also really not that tall. But I don't think we're gonna spend the money to actually dig out the basement to make it taller. We're probably just gonna try to make the best use out of it. The clients want to use this as an additional living room or potentially design it to be like an in-law suite. So we get to play around with what we're gonna turn this space into. And we're in New England. People want basements. People want to take advantage of their basements. We're going to do our best to do that. The previous homeowners definitely tried, but you know, they didn't try that hard because these walls are still open and all of the ceiling is open. And we have this weird tile here, which is probably asbestos, and that's them testing it. But I'm pretty sure that these old tiles do have asbestos. This is the old mechanical system, most definitely gonna change it. And now we're gonna go into the dark and scary area of the basement. I'm starting to regret my decisions. This is totally not creepy. All right. And look at that. We have a phone over here. Hello? 911? Yeah, you should come here quick because we're about to completely destroy this house and build a brand new one that's much better. Oh, you guys don't take those sort of calls? I'm sorry. Is your refrigerator running? And over here, we have a nice little garage. Nothing big, a single car garage. Not very tall, so you're probably not parking your giant SUV in here. So I don't know what we're gonna do with this space. I don't know if we're gonna keep it as a garage or if we're gonna add it to the basement space. I think it's smart because we don't have a ton of parking here. We only have this driveway, which could probably fit 1 or 2 cars, you know, in tandem. It's probably smart to keep the garage, not 100% what we're gonna do. All right, let's go check out the backyard. The backyard is pretty nice. Right now it's the morning, the sun is coming over there. So what does that mean? The sun rises in the east and it rises in the south. So I think east is that way. It's mid-January and it's a little odd that it's this nice. It's about 50 degrees right now in Greenwich, but it's January. I feel like it should be like 30 degrees and snowy. Anyways, the backyard is very decent. The one thing is though, it slopes, it continues to slope up that way, which means that, you know, the water runoff tends to go towards the house, which is not ideal. And also for like hanging out and playing and doing a barbecue, you don't want to be on a hill. So most likely we are going to do some grading, potentially put up a retaining wall. That right there is a sunroom that we were in with all the wood paneling. Today we were talking to the client. We might end up doing the addition off of that wall, so coming back out this way so that the primary bedroom is on the first floor on that area. So there's a lot of work to do. Okay, now it's time to actually get to work. And what we're gonna do is we have to measure this entire house so that we know how to design. Because this is a renovation, not a tear down, we're gonna be designing off of the perimeter of this house. So we have to know exactly what this house is in plan so that when we're designing, we're doing it 100% accurately and we don't find ourselves, you know, just guessing. Okay, it's actually freezing and the heat is not working. So I'm gonna have to put this on in order to finish the job. And that's the drawback of doing these kind of jobs in a house that doesn't have, you know, utilities going. But that's just part of the job, baby. Anything to get it done. Anything to make this house beautiful again. All right, let's get back to it. I don't love this part, but we have to do it. I don't feel very confident in the creaks of the stair, but we gotta do it. Okay. So, when I say we gotta measure every nook and cranny, I meant it. We're in the attic right now, and it's important to measure this because we have to figure out where the ceiling is, the pitch of the roof. It's also good to see the structure. I mean, a lot of this is gonna come out anyways because we're gonna do a second floor. It never hurts. It's always good practice to measure and get as much information as we can. So let's get it done really quick. First we gotta sketch this little section, and basically what I'm sketching is, you know, these members. This roof joist, I'm sketching on this guy, and basic diagrams so I can get the measurements of this, get some distances from from here to the bottom, and then the length of that, because basically it's like solving for X on a triangle, and that's gonna help us figure out the pitch of the roof. All right, we've survived the stair of death. Let's finish measuring this house. And that was the last room we had to measure. But we still have a little bit more work to do, because part of documenting the existing conditions will be drawing a 3D model of the house as it sits right now. So we need to do some measurement outside, get some additional details. This part can be tedious, it can take a long time, but it's very crucial. Every design starts this way. First, you have to know exactly what you have before you know how to change it. So let's keep going. One of the most ambiguous and challenging things to draw when you're documenting a house, especially when you're gonna get into the 3D model, is figuring out the roof slopes. So taking extra measurements when I'm out here is definitely gonna save me a lot of headache when I'm trying to figure out how this is actually built. So first thing is figuring out how big this overhang is. So that's 2 foot 2 inches. Look, so far we have the full plan. That's what this looks like. We measured every single little corner, every edge of the door, every width of hallway, many measurements for the same room. Again, because once I'm sitting there and I'm not at the house, it's gonna be like solving a big puzzle. So now I'm gonna sketch this little roof, get some overall measurements so that by the time I'm actually drawing this and making the 3D model, I'll know exactly what the roof pitch is. It doesn't have to be perfect. This is just so we can annotate everything. Sometimes it's also good to measure the siding, because when I take pictures, I can use that as reference and count how many pieces of siding there are, and if I know the dimension, I can estimate things. Another critical element we have to figure out is this stoop. We need to draw it so that we can, position it in space, in context of the house. But also, because the house is so elevated, we have to figure out what the relationship is to the driveway. Eventually, we're gonna get a survey, which is gonna give us like the actual real measurements and where the house is in elevation. But for design purposes and to draw an accurate model while we wait for the survey, this is gonna be crucial. So, for example, first thing is measure the distance to the patio. So from the front door down is 5 inches. Now let's average the steps. 7 1/4, 7 1/16. This is incredibly not helpful, but there's some plaster stuck inside my tape measure and it's stuck up. See, it's stuck, it's not gonna go inside. Exactly what I needed. Ah, there we go. Yay! The last thing I think we'll need before we take pictures is just documenting the relationship of the roof to the grade, because again, this is where it's gonna help us really situate the house instead of it just floating in space. From grade to the bottom of the overhang, we have 16 feet, 1 inch and 3/4. From grade to the top of the garage door, 6 foot 11. Now, I'm gonna measure from the windowsill to here, which is about 55.5 inches. Now, when I get that measurement from the window to this, it helps translate some of the dimensions from the inside to the outside. It's hard to explain, but if we're inside the house just taking measurements and there's no way of connecting the dimensions to the outside, things don't line up right. I don't know, maybe I'll do a full video on drawing the existing conditions if you're interested and explain some of those more minute, unnecessary things, I guess. Here in Connecticut, we have this beautiful, glorious food called Chicken Joe's. There's no branding here. There's also another place called Garden Catering. They're basically the same. And it's honestly food sent from the gods. And it's basically just French fries and nuggets. But they put this delicious seasoning on it. It's so hot. Today went really long. We got everything that we needed, but we're gonna have this on the way to the gym because I'm probably gonna hit traffic. Then we're gonna get a workout, and then who knows what else is up for today. So let's enjoy some beautiful Chicken Joe's. All right, time for a pump. Let's see if we can get these chicken legs to be more like turkey legs. I absolutely hate doing legs. I'm making a point to start every week with legs on Monday because I want to start doing the hard things, the thing that I really don't like, in hopes that, like, you know, get stronger, get better, work on the mentality. Let's see how long that goes. And now, this is when the real work begins. We're gonna upload all the information we have, we're gonna scan in our measurements, and we're gonna start drawing the existing conditions of the house. So this is what I mean. We draft everything in AutoCAD, and this is an example of another project. So once we do the measurements, I will bring all of that stuff in, and you can see all the measurements I would have taken on site at this house. I have it in here. I'll look at it, and then I'll draw the exact same thing right there on the screen. And this is me just verifying all the measurements. And then once that's done, we do this. We build a 3D model of the whole thing. So this is the house that I measured a couple weeks ago for my job, and we're doing some design work to it. So, and that's how every single project starts. Well, especially if it's a renovation. Usually, if it's a like a complete tear down, like if we're gonna tear down the house, or if there's no house in the lot and we're just gonna build from scratch, we don't have to do all the measuring and all the drawing of the existing. We just start doing the work. But I'm not gonna do that now because I feel like that's a little boring. I don't wanna draft, and because I feel like that's not exciting to see. And honestly, I'm not sure what is exciting to see. I want to be able to share my process as a designer. There's a lot of YouTubers just in the vast realm of YouTube that are just doing crazy content. And I'm not sure how to do that. Like, I'm not Mr. Beast, but I know that I'm an artist. I know that I'm a creative. And I know that I want to share my passion for art and creativity and design. And just try to show how I'm going about it. And hell, I have no idea what I'm doing, but I love to just share it. So if you're enjoying it, please subscribe, hit that like button, and let me know what sort of things you want to see. We're like we just finished building a house that took 3 years to build. This was a giant, beautiful custom home. I'm going to drop that video soon, but the project we're just starting, it's much more scaled down. So I'm really trying to showcase every single aspect of it, you know, really document it. So let me know what sort of things you want to see. Like if you're here because you like art, or if you're here because you like architecture, I'm just excited that you're here. So let me know what you want to see or what you like about this crazy mustache guy. Anyways, thank you so much, Creative World. If you stuck around, I love you. And if you didn't stick around, I still love you, but I hope that you do next time. I guess if you didn't stick around, you wouldn't even hear this part of the message. Anyways, thank you so much, Creative World. And until next time, never stop creating.